Good evening, everyone. I just fancied some company tonight. Yep, just fancied some company. Been working away for ages. So, yeah, there you go. So you get to listen to me play guitar and chat. Mr. Angels of the Plague. Good evening, Mum. How are you? Yeah, I'm alright. I just fancied a bit of company because I've spent like weeks now working away, and yeah, I only really come home on weekends, and those weekends are either spent doing painting lessons, which again is more work, or then prepping to come back out again. So it's like for weeks now, it's kind of non-stop. You know, very grateful for it, but you know, ultimately it is it's a little bit taxing, and there's not a lot of downtime, not a lot of like just time to be a human. Do you know what I mean? You know, so there you go. And it's play this tonight. It's like one of the sexiest guitars I own. It's all backwards in that camera. What's that all about? So yeah, that's what's going on. So I'm sat here in a hotel room, chilling out with you guys essentially. Yeah, electric guitar's top in it. In fact, all guitars are top. Some are maybe better than others, you know, but that's all maybe down to objective and taste, which some people fail to differentiate between. Check this out. I think like best thing I ever got, this little Black Star Fly. Like, runs on batteries, and they last forever. Yeah, runs on batteries. Has a port for an extension. I can plug my phone into it, so it plays music or backing tracks from a guitar. I can plug headphones into it, so the neighbours don't have to listen to me. You know. It's got a distortion setting on it for those that understand what it is I'm going on about. And it's got a delay. If you know what a delay is, like an echo. So you listen there. But if I turn this up, you hear it echo slightly. That'll make it more. So yeah, it's got like everything you could want. Then you've got like a rock setting. Whoops. Let's change all that. we go. Roxy. So yeah, there you go. I quite like it a lot. A lot. But generally use it on clean. Keeps going out of tune my guitar recently. Talking with the boss. Which boss do you mean? I was talking with a few bosses, and who are you anyway? You've got a huge Fender amp, it's quite good with different modes, however it weighs a ton, takes up loads of room. Yeah, what Fender amp have you got? I was chatting with a few folk at head office. Sunday? It won't have been Sunday. Oh no, sorry, yeah, okay, no, I know, I didn't see the Manchester bit then for some mad reason. Yeah, I was in Games Rush at Manchester on Sunday, yeah, I thought you meant head office then, because I was also there that week. Johnny Morris, good evening. How are you? Ninja Miniature, hello. Angel Sanguine, hello. What's other people doing and working on? Anyone doing and working on anything exciting? Mr. Gulliman, good evening. Building Imperial Fist, playing Red Dead 2, cool. Total Warhammer 2, does that count? Yeah, doing whatever you want to do. Trying to paint through some orcs you bought years ago. A worthy task. Keeps going out of tune. Looters at the moment finding it a bit of a slog though. Yeah, Arc Army is going to be a bit of a slog. As long as you're approaching them in an economical fashion, then you with a bit of grit and steel, as an orc would, you know, enthusiastic grit and steel, then you should smash it out pretty quick, you know. So, you know, a lot of people make painting really laborious for themselves without even knowing it. So just like analyse logically what it is you try to do. But then again, if you're having fun, then it don't matter, does it? But you know, you use the word slog. So yeah, analyse what it is you think you're doing, and you know, stop. Well, being slow isn't the point. If you're slow and economic, you'll be effective. Do you know what I mean? There's speed almost has nothing to do with it. You know, something that's economic can move slowly and get results as much as something that moves fast yet uneconomically. Do you know what I mean? It's about finding the direct route. You know, think of it like a taxi driver. Which one charges you more to go the same distance? Which one will appear more of a slog? So ask yourself, is what you're doing economical? And if it is economical, then grit and steel will get you through. If it's not economical, then I'd ask you a question, you know, because then you might be having to use a little bit more grit and steel than than the job needs, which is a bit of a waste of time. Do you know what I mean? I hope that helps. You know, again, it's the differentiation I keep making between army painters and display standard painters. Again, you know, the idea that army painters use beginner or more basic or simpler techniques, and display standard painters use advanced techniques and more complex ideas, and they really don't. They use exactly the same processes, exactly the same. It's just one guy's better at it than this other guy, and this other guy seems to end up this like painting aspirant, if you will. They tend to start going down, if they want to up the standard, that is, which most people do. They tend to start going down this route of, oh, I need a wet palette, or I need an airbrush, or I need expensive brushes, or I need the other paints, because these paints won't work for me. You know, and all these are just stupid ideas, because, you know, ultimately what makes you a good painter is how you do things, how you use the tools you're using, you know, not the tools you've got, you know. So start analysing what it is you think you're doing, and ask yourself, well, am I just doing that because I think it's right, as opposed to actually being right? And then start figuring out what is right. It's an interesting little ballpark, and I feel really strongly about this. I always have done, and it seems to be, if I'm honest, whenever I do one of these live videos, even though I'm just like maybe doing it for a bit of company, I tend to repeat this a lot, and I don't get tired of repeating it, because that's the way it is, you know. And it really does help people. The moment people realise that the power's in their hands, not in the product they're being sold, then the world opens up a lot more, you know. It's a journey inwards. And it really is. So yeah. Kurganite, ROS, good evening. Cove 360, you say, I think so. That's not the same as, yes, I understand. So if you've got any questions, then, you know, ask. ROS workshop. What does ROS mean? Alright, okay. Got you. Nice one. Is Republic your first name? Connor Mitchell, Router Miniatures, Danny Will. Good evening, everybody. We were just talking about economy with miniature painting. Go on. If you're going to paint something to a tabletop standard, what's my approach? How far do I take it before it's onto higher quality than tabletop? Does that make sense? Well, it depends what you define as tabletop quality. What do you define as tabletop quality? For example, if you mean 3 colours, a shade and a highlight, a single shade and a single highlight, then that's still a massive ballpark for differences in quality. What do you define tabletop? Because do you think that my base coat, single shade and single highlight, would be the same as a beginner's base coat, shade and highlight, or a 14-year-old's shade and highlight? Or do you see what I mean? Do you see what I'm saying here? What do you consider? I mean, even my base coat, let's just say it's just base coated. Just base coated. Yeah? Will my base coated model be exactly the same as your base coated model in quality? See what I mean? So that's why I say a lot. These ideas of army standard and display standard. Ooh, murky waters. We all think we know what we're on about though, don't we? But we don't. You know, so you've got to understand what it is you mean. You've then got to understand what your actual objective is, you know, and make sure that it's fulfilling for you. Make sure that it's, you know, it is a hobby. Unless it's a job, then that's a different conversation altogether, you know. No dog hairs on you painted onto your mini. Well, it depends if you're painting a dog with a hair effect on it. If you mean no actual hairs. But still, you know, you look at, say like 2009, 2011, a guy called Damien Pedley entered Gold Demon Awards, and he entered a Nurgle Greater Demon that literally had a hairy back, and it was gross to look at. Literally had a hairy back. Don't know where he got the hairs from. Could have been a dog, could have been a cat, could have been his eyelash, could have been something a little more grim, but you see, you just gotta be, you gotta understand what it is you think you're doing. Most people, like I say, they don't know what they think they're doing. Or at least they think they're doing X, but really it is they're kind of chasing mist, That's why they're not going places. That's why they're not getting to their objectives, because they don't really know what their objective is. They just think they know what it is, I like this subject a lot. It's something I'm well practiced at talking at, and that makes me actually passionate about sharing it, and I feel I'm pretty effective at sharing it as well, because it's important that you guys, if you're aspiring painters, you really understand that while certain higher quality materials are going to do you a lot of good, for example a good brush, learning how to use it is equally as important. Having a good brush is not enough. I could go back through my Instagram gallery from when I did the Nurgle and Primaris Marine painting guides. I used the lowest quality brush possible for that. See what I mean? The lowest quality brush possible. You'll get some people that will buy and invest in the highest quality brush possible and not get those results. See what I mean? It's the impetus, it's the power, it's the person, and the skills and tools available at that time that enable a good paint job to happen. So investing in yourself and the way you perceive and the way you do things is more important. And this applies to life. This applies to everything. It applies to playing guitar. It applies to depression. It applies to diet. Because I've had to apply these ideas to my own life. That's why I'm sat here now, alive, working, moving around the country. That's why I'm here. For those that don't know, that's a long story, But ultimately, you have to look at yourself and how you use the tools around you. Those can be cognitive tools, physical tools, and external tools, like a guitar, like an amplifier, like a paintbrush, like your paints. And then you've got to understand how these things really work. Not a good model has to have colour theory, and that's a real great example of a crock of bullshit. No model has to have colour theory. Do you know what I mean? No, nothing has to have colour theory. For starters, it's just a theory. And if somebody starts bandying the word like complementary around, well, that's an opinion. What is complementary? So there's ways of tightening things up when it comes to like the words you use. So instead of complementary, contrast is a matter of fact. But then how and why does, say, red and green contrast? Because they're the complementary colours on a colour wheel. What makes them contrast? Define contrast. So you can define it in light and dark, sharp and soft. Why is red the opposite to green? Well, it's the opposite to green on a colour wheel, but doesn't necessarily mean the contrast. It just means they're in opposite locations. So isn't location the definition of contrast? Well, it kind of isn't, is it? See what I mean? All murky waters. Wasn't a good ramble then. Quite enjoyed it. Kurganite. My main objective is to make sure my base coat is smooth and solid. Then everything looks better from that start point. Good tip for you, for everyone. It's more important to have a good, neat base than it is to have a good, neat base coat. A poor base with a nicely painted model on it will always look shitter than a poorly painted model on a good base. Now, a good base doesn't mean an extravagant base. It can just mean nice, flat, smooth sand texture, painted nice and consistently, and dry brushed lightly in consistency, with a couple clumps of started grass. That's what I mean by a good base, not a complex base or a scenic base. Yeah, because again, you're getting into the realms of murky, infinity, whatever that means. You know, a nicely painted and crafted base will always make a shitter model look better than a fantastically painted model on a poor base. And most people don't know how to do a good base. I've actually made a video on this yonks ago. You'll have to scroll back through my YouTube channel. Yeah, do it, but genuinely take that advice. In fact, don't take that advice. Go and test it. Go and find out if I'm right. Go and find out. I literally just go, oh, because the people that say, oh, well, Tommy said this, and that must be true. Well, no, I don't want you to do that. You know, radical free thinking. This is what we're after. You know, as long as that thinking is analytical, you know, and based on not necessarily common sense, but maybe the laws of physics. You know, so go and prove me wrong. Go and prove me right. You know, and if you prove me wrong, I'll analyse it and I'll have a look and I'll go, right, have I got an oversight? Because I love stuff like that. I'm all right being wrong. Being wrong is great. That's called learning. You know, if we don't like learning, then what are you really like? Do you know what I mean? Dark Whipping Minis says, Kurganite likes my rambles, thank you. Dark Whipping Minis, wouldn't you say it was better, generally speaking, to stick to colour theory, at least instead? No, not at all. Like, you can bend and break the rules once you know the basics. Is colour theory basic? I mean, this is the thing, I don't even think it is basic. So look at the image on screen now. Yeah, all the image, including the writing, including this, that and the other. Alright, and ask yourself, what about it looks bad? What about it looks out of place? What about it, you know, apart from comedy insults aside, what looks bad? What looks out of place? Now tell me, yeah, because I don't think anything looks bad or out of place, you know, blah, blah, blah. But tell me where red has to be with green. Tell me where colour theory is happening right now. You know, you can't really see. You go out onto the street and look, go and look for the colour theory. It's kind of not there. Artists use colour theory as a tool, you know, it's a very subtle tool. You don't need colour theory, you know. It's a matter of taste. Now, that doesn't mean colour theory isn't a useful tool. It's an incredibly useful tool, but have your eyes open about it. Here's another example. If you were to paint a model, and it's very easy to misunderstand colour theory as well, by the way, very easy. You know, to paint a model, or if a model's painted red, it must have green on it. No. You know, that's a very simplistic and almost dumb example, but that's how people think about it. You know, or you must always use a complementary colour. No. You know, for example, back in that the Conquest magazine, I highlighted blue with green for no other reason than it was just a lighter colour than blue, so it would give me a light blue when I mixed it with blue. No other reason than that. Did it work? Yeah. Job done. You know, some might say, well, you know, orange is the complementary colour to blue, and green has got yellow in it, and yellow is in orange, so that's where you must have... shut up. You know, just shut up. If it's lighter, use it as a highlight. If it's darker, use it as a shade. Job done. And that's dealing in contrast. You know, contrasts are a matter of fact. Colour theory can be used for ill because it's just a tool. You know. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Break the rules once you know them. But colour theory isn't a rule. Otherwise it'd be called colour rules. It's just a theory. It's an idea. You know. And it's, like I say, it's a useful idea, but it's not It's not the truth. It's not going to make you a better painter. It might give you a competitive edge when you get to, you know, the law of diminishing returns. As you get further up, it might give you that increment push. But in the beginning, you know, I'm not saying don't learn it. Go and learn it, you know, but it's not going to be the holy grail everyone seems to think it is, you know. Tom paints models. Right, Tom, that is a top question. Any tips for getting a nice finish with dry brushing? Yeah, however dry you think your brush is, you're only halfway there. Dry it more. The next thing, everyone seems to think that this is dry brushing. Don't just dry brush like this, dry brush like this, dry brush like that, dry brush like that. And each one will give you a different property with which to be used. For example, if I was dry brushing an edge, I'd use this, maybe even a slight diagonal motion, yeah. But if I was dry brushing a flat surface and I wanted a soft texture, yeah, then I'd dry brush like this, and I'd avoid the edges, yeah. So here I had the assumption that dry brushing was about catching the raised areas of models, which is generally, you know, and if anybody didn't, I'd be surprised. I've just said it's not. It can be about catching the flat areas of models. It can be used in the valleys. People see it. Again, misconceptions about painting is that dry brushing is a low standard, beginner, very inaccurate technique. And it really isn't. Just people get these results with it, and they assume that is what it's not. It's the people who are poor at it getting those results. Yeah, and being incredibly accurate, incredibly soft, and it can be a great method of blending. As a matter of fact, demonstrable fact, by the way. So go and have a look at some of my Space Wolves. Type in Google Tommy Space Wolves or something like that, and you'll find some dreadnoughts, and you'll find some blends on those dreadnoughts, and those dreadnoughts. The blends on those dreadnoughts come in two stages. They have a dry brush highlight and then not a wash necessarily, but a glaze shade. You know, on each dreadnought took me about 4 hours to paint. Is there a way of dry brushing flat areas without leaving a chalky type of finish? You hate dry brushing, cannot do it for toffee. That's because you need more practice of awareness of what you're doing. And yeah, there is ways of getting it without getting a chalky type of finish. However, you must be willing to build up in lots of smooth layers and avoiding white and pastel based colours. So you must start using a little bit more saturated yet lighter colours, which is not an easy thing to do. Next thing is you can always then use a glaze over any kind of dry brush to bring back the vibrancy of colour. You know, toffee is a bad colour at dry brush. Toffee's a sweetie, and you can dry brush whatever colour you want, mate. Christoph, good evening. Good evening, good evening. I hope I answered your question on dry brushing there, by the way. What's the flight? Storm Fang, is it? I also dry brushed the Storm Fang in that way, using, you know, dry brushing to create smooth blends. You'll always get a grainy texture with dry brushing, and that's that end of. But like I say, you can soften it out once you understand how to glaze. You know, and what do we mean by glazing? That's another question. Let's go through all the pre and misconceptions. What do we mean by glazing? When we say, oh, use a glaze, how does a glaze differ from a wash? You know, can we answer them questions? Dart Whip it. Cheers, man. Thank you. Glad you got something out of it. Yeah, Google me. I've got a Facebook page called The Siege at Barabbas. You could search for that on Facebook. There's obviously me Golden Painting Studio site, and then if you just Google my name, Tommy Sewell. Do you know what? Actually, I think, you know, like Photo Bucket blocked everyone's images and then asked for like 400 quid a year, I think some of my images might have been caught in that, so you might struggle to find it. But yeah, Google my full name and Space Wolves and you'll start to find hopefully some blog threads, things like that. So let's hear your answers, or read your answers on what's the difference between washing and glazing. No, cheers, man. Enjoy your night, you too, Mr. Dark Whippet. How do you define glazing? Oh, that's the question I'm asking you guys, because I want to hear your answers. You know, it's partly me seeking affirmation that I believe most people, they actually don't really have a clue. Yet we all bandy these ideas around like, oh, you should put a glaze on that. Oh, you should tie this all together with an X or Y. And really, we don't really know what we're saying. We just think we know what we're saying. You know. Can glazing be defined? We'll see. But I'd tell you what, here's a definition between a glaze and a wash, depending on where you do your shopping. A glaze will have glaze written on the pot. A wash will have wash written on the pot. And that's good enough for some people. Doesn't tell you how to use it though, and it doesn't tell you why you're using it either. So washing for you is using a dilute colour to change the tone. So so glazing is like layering with very watered down paints. But see, the thing is, what you've said there is almost the same thing again. Are you saying like for glazing you don't dilute the colour and you don't change the tone? Because you do. You know, in your description for wash here, you have just described a glaze, partly. You know, both these things apply to a glaze. Glazing is layering with very watered down paints. So a wash is a very watered down paint. Is it, when you put it on, not a layer? It is a layer of paint. It is a layer of, or at least material, you know. Glazing puts the same amount of paint on every part, while washing allows the colour to pool in recesses, so getting darker in places. Says L. It's interesting, isn't it? We all think we know what we're on about, and we don't. So let's go back to what Mr. Christoph says. Glazing puts the same amount of paint on every part. That'll need tightening up, that sentence. While washing allows the colour to pool in the recesses, so getting darker in places. Yeah. That can be tightened. For example, you can use a lighter colour as a wash. For example, that nickel oxide. Or right, you know, you can rust down into crevasses, you know, using a wash if you like. So almost now we're deciding that the colour almost has nothing to do with it. Yet the amount, that has something to do with it. Oh, hi Nate Satan, when did you get in? Get in? I didn't even notice you. Okay, so let's go back through some of these answers. Glaze influences colour like a filter. Wash mainly influences contrast. Yeah, I like that. I like that. Are you saying that you can't use a subtle wash? And are you saying that you have to use a very subtle glaze? I would say you have to use a very subtle and diluted glaze, otherwise it's not a glaze. You're getting into the realms of actual paint. But, you know, when does a thin layer become a glaze? I don't know. You know, glaze is something you avoid doing due to fear of the unknown. And washing is something you overuse due to laziness. This is very interesting. Very interesting. Because I think a lot of people use washes, especially people learning. They're taught to use wash as a miracle thing, but actually what it does is it creates like 90% more work than it would have done if you hadn't used it. So it's almost like counterproductive if you don't understand how and why and when to use a wash. Which makes me sad when I hear it bandied around as like being some kind of miracle answer to all your painting needs, because it really might not be. Because if you don't know how to use it and why you're using it, then it's a coin toss whether it's going to do the job you expect it to do or not. For example, if you don't know that you could, would and should be managing where and in what quantities wash puddles, then you're going to get puddles in all the places you don't want, or not in the places you did want, if you're not taking into consideration gravity, for example. You know, so if I wanted to say wash my face now and I wanted the wash to pool in the eyes, and I stood the model up, well, this puddle is going to run down the face, so I should lay it on its back. Where you taught that? Do you see what I mean? Telling people that a wash is to be used all over something is stupid when I could just wash in these recesses. You know, can I use a wash as a glaze? Well, you're assuming that a wash is a product. Can you make a wash out of paint? Can you make a wash out of a glaze? See, all these questions that it takes a critical mind to consider. You know, is a wash because it says wash on the pot? You see where I'm going with all this? You know, and it's about critical thinking. It's about being aware of what the properties are of the object you're using, and do they get you in the most direct and economic way towards your objective, towards your goal. You know. Let's see what people say. I have the red lid Citadel glazes still sealed. Never used them. Good. Like collector's items, aren't they? Excuse me. Trying to paint joined. I hope your painting's doing well then, Mr. Trying to Paint. Right, throw some more questions at me. Throw some more questions at me. I like it. I like being I like the challenge of it. It's become a YouTube worthy, this video, just for that discussion, by the way. So yeah, give it a share if there's people you think will benefit from the cognitions of this Mancunian baldy. Right, okay, Nate saying, here we go. An example. I was doing NMM Sanguinor using instructions from Heavy Metal Guide in White Dwarf. I'm very familiar with that guide. I was very happy with the effects I made from snakebite leather up. The final step was a yellow glaze. Okay. What's that an example of, by the way, Mr. Nate saying? Mark Wyatt Not says, agree with what you're saying totally, thank you, about washes. Case in point, my Seekers of Slanesh, you've got no idea where you're going with them. Well, get a strong image, be that something you want to copy, or create one model that you definitely like. You have to finish it. You can't judge whether you like your model or not until you've finished it. If you're judging it before you've finished it, then that's dumb. Don't judge it before you've finished it. Once you've found one model finished you like, you then have something to copy. Refer back to step one. Copy something. Alright? And even if you are going to copy something, still make one model. Yeah. That way you get all your mistakes and any like barriers and obstacles towards you completing that model solved and out of the way with on one model instead of an army wide. At that, Nate saying, at that point you feared the word glaze. You had used it without understanding. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. This word glaze, this word wash, yeah, depending on your understanding or lack of understanding of them, can be used quite unknowingly for good or evil. Education is needed, and I have an opinion on a lot of painting guides in that, you know, painting guides, while the intention is to help people better their skills, unfortunately, the people who can already do those things are the people that understand how to do those, how to follow those guides. And if you don't know, then you're not good enough to follow the guides. Now, while you can put the same colours in the same place, doesn't mean you will put those same colours in the same place with the same accuracy and quality. And if you don't, do you know how to work those things out? So, yeah, be wary of painting guides. Well, not wary. Go in with your eyes open and hopefully with a critical analysis of yourself and of the photographs you're looking at within the guide and the words they do, and more importantly, do not use. Because I've never come across a sensible and whole explanation of how to do glazing or how to do non-mets or what colour theory is or why and when you should use it. Some people think you should just always use it. No, that's like, it's not critically thinking enough. It gets in the realm of dogma. So, Painting Guide, Kurganite Studio says, Painting Guides for Dummies could be a good series. No, believe it or not, I've thought about doing a little video series called Why Does Your Painting Suck? And then going into it, you know, why X person gets X results, why X person doesn't get X results, you know, and then really helping people. I haven't yet. There you go. I want a bigger audience still. That's ultimately what I want. Because when my YouTube channel's still tiny, all my other videos, they just get forgotten about. Which might be an excuse to do these videos more than once in a refined way, actually. I suppose I'm being a barrier to myself there. Think about that. Nate Satan, you did get a lot from that guide, you have to be honest. It was a huge help up to point. Yeah, it actually was a great guide. I too got a lot from it. It was a very good guide. But having said that, that doesn't mean everybody got equal results out of it. You know. That also doesn't mean that everybody has the same cognitive capacities who are watching it either. Not watching it, sorry, reading that guide, using that guide either. There's a lot of things to consider when doing a painting guide, when being a teacher, having taught a lot of people A lot of people. I can't even imagine how many people. Like I was toying with the idea recently about how many people I've taught. I thought, is it in the hundreds or is it in the thousands? It's definitely in the hundreds as a freelance painter, but you got to bear in mind I've been working for Games Workshop on and off since I was 18, and that's 22 years. How many people have I taught? How many lessons have I learned in those teaching about people, about different types of people, different types of what you might say normal people, and different types of how you might say exceptional people, exceptional on whatever scale you decide to force your own perspective. It's up to you. That's another story altogether, though, isn't it? Oh, Kurganite. I'm going to answer that question in a minute, as I like that question. I'm just going to scroll up. ROS. See you there. Guides always leave things because creators of the guides are too experienced and take too much things for granted that newbies couldn't know. Definitely a possibility. You're missing some ends. Yeah, I know. You find that touchscreen phones now are not as good as they used to be. They create more spelling mistakes, and the predictive text and spell correct is actually poorer than it used to be. It's a conspiracy. Right, Kurganite. Is there more pressure on me from a painting angle now I'm a Golden Demon winner? Yes. Yes, there is. But that pressure comes from me and nowhere else. My desire to excel and my desire to develop myself to whatever objective has stepped up a notch. But if anybody else has those expectations from me, then they best be paying me. Other than that, I don't care. I don't care. So I hope that answers that question. It's a good question, actually. Yeah. Nate Satan, you've often felt you could hear what not to do and what it looks like if you do. Lol. Here's what the final text you look like if you don't keep your paint wet. Well, for a long time now, I've been looking. I'm always on the lookout for a student to teach and to record the teaching of. But unfortunately, I've not found that person who's willing to be in the right place at the right time, which is essentially the same place as me at the time I'm willing to teach them, and be willing to be filmed as well, because when it comes to learning how to paint, when it comes to painting guides, nobody's showing people fucking up. You need to fuck up. You need to see people fucking up. You need to see yourself doing things wrong in order so you can avoid those things, and also so you can see how to adjust those things, and also so you can see how you can work with those things, and so you can see how you can deal with those things. And they're all different, so it comes under this angle. You can use your mistake, you can prevent your mistake, you can eliminate your mistake, as in remove it physically, or you can paint over it, you can cover over the mistake. So without making mistakes, you don't have those opportunities to learn, and they're all learning opportunities. And that again is an analogy for life. Mark Wyatt, not. I suppose the real clue is in the name. It's a guide. Ooh. It gives pointers and sets you in the right direction, but then it's up to you as a painter to practice, extrapolate from the guide and learn. That is the critical thinking. I mean, following a guide blindly is not enough. In fact, it's like Indiana Jones at the beginning of Raiders of the Lost Ark, innit? He just followed Melina into where the idol was. You know, it turns out Melina was robbing him. Just followed him blindly. We'll watch Raiders of the Lost Ark now. Love that movie. Nate's saying, just on a tangent, I'm painting a really cool mini Escher Juve with a pistol. So cute. Giving leopard print hair and Night Lord style clothing. Cool. As long as you're having fun. You're going to use her as a cultist in a 40k army. Sounds like a groupie for the Noise Marine, if I'm honest. Definitely sounds like a groupie for the Noise Marine. Throw me the idol, I'll throw you the whip. Yeah. So imagine if old Indy was a little more conscientious of his guide in that part. Ben's Wicker Tattoos, good evening. Anyone need a tattoo? Go and see this guy, apparently. I don't know, he might be a butcher of skin for all I know. Colonel says, amen. Messing up, fucking up a few Blackstone minis at the moment to get the right effects. You've got to do it. You've got to make mistakes. Yeah, doing things because you think you should. Because you think they're the only way. Not because somebody told you to. Can be a recipe for disaster. Because it depends, you know, how qualified through results is the person that told you to. You know? How qualified through results. You know? And that doesn't necessarily mean a good painter. Because a good painter doesn't necessarily make a good teacher. You know? So, look at the results. That Noise Marine is glorious, yeah. Yeah, it's pretty good indeed. So, yeah. Right. I think... Oh. Plain black chest plate is less than thrilling on the box art. The box art for the Noise Marine is a copy of the original paint job from back in the early 90s, and they've copied every aspect of it, and that was the objective, all the way down to the goblin green with a yellow dry brush base. So yeah, that's why they've done that. Right, there's 30 seconds remaining there, guys, so I'm going to say thank you and good night. I'm going to post this video live and then I'll whiz it to my YouTube channel. Please give it a share for me so other people can get to learn from all my crazy ramblings. Alright, thank you and good night. Enjoy.